Okay, good morning. We are at the bottom of 71A, picking up second last line. So yesterday we determined that we have the same idea here in our Mishnah in Zevachim and in the Mishnah in Tamura, in that what happens if animals get mixed up, carbonos with non-carbonos and so on. So we ended up saying that the reason we have both of these sources here and in Tamura is to include, in one case, it's talking about kachim, that it can't be used for the mizbeach. If it got mixed, if the whole mixture can't be used for the mizbeach. In the other case, it's that even a regular person can't use it. But now the Gemara asks as follows: the Hedyot Nami Tanya. Still, what do you need the Mishnah? What do you need um, what do you need our Mishnah for? Because we also have another source about Hedyot, about a mixture that can't be used by a regular person, nothing to do with the Mizbeach. Here's a Mishnah. Elu asurin v'osrin b'chol shehen. These are forbidden, and they make, if they get into a mixture, then the whole mixture is completely forbidden. Even if it's just a minute amount of the forbidden stuff in the mixture, the whole thing is asur. And what are these things? Yayin nesach v'avodas kochavim. Wine that's used for that is used for idolatry, and any other thing having to do with idolatry, maybe the idols themselves. Um, so, and that is clearly referring to for anyone, right? So why does our Mishnah have to come and say that and repeat this basically? So my answer is tzricha. You need both. Why did the ime hasam? If we only have the avodah zarah ruling, havamina lahadyot. I would have thought, okay, that's for a normal person that you can't use the mixture. Avola gavoa, emalo nafsidin l'chulu. Now maybe we would not assume that the same applies to using for the mizbeach, because it's um, the mixture is something that's sanctified for the mizbeach, and why would maybe there's a higher standard to remove it, right? To make it forbidden. So for an individual, fine, don't drink the wine, but this was for the mizbeach, so the mizbeach should get it. V'mehacha, but the other way around, if we only had our Mishnah about kachim, havamina hanimile kachim demais. Oh, the mizbeach, we're more particular about the mizbeach, what we put on the mizbeach. We're not going to put in even something that a regular person could eat, this mixture with a minute amount of avodah zarah in it, but that's not suitable for the mizbeach. The mizbeach is, sacrifice to God. We don't want something that is repulsive to God, that has any taint of avodah zarah. But for a regular person, we say, okay, look, you can't. A regular person can't benefit from yayin nesach. But if it's a mixture and there's only there's only a minute amount, then we'd say, okay, we'll let you use it because batal barov, because it is nullified by being overwhelmed by the volume of permitted stuff. So tricha. So we don't say any of that. We say yes, both the case of Hedyot and both the case of Gavoa, of the Mizbeach, the mixture is forbidden. But now the Gemara asks a very basic question: Vinivatlu beruba. Why? Why is it forbidden? Generally, we have this idea that if something is mixed together with a larger amount of if something forbidden is mixed together with a larger amount of stuff that is not mixed, so that it's not permitted, then it is nullified by it depends what volume, right? So, as you know, like basar b'chalav, if it's meat and milk, so 1 to 60, anything less than 1 to 60, or 1 and more than 60, one forbidden portion and 60 or more permitted portions is okay, it's nullified. Um,
But it doesn't
so
apply everywhere. We'd say by Pesach, even a mashu is forbidden, right?
Correct. So we need a source, though. Like, why? Why would we not have any kind of nullification? What do we say about Pesach? Oh, like chametz on Pesach.
Right. Even a mashu is forbidden.
Right. But as we'll see, there are different, as we're going to see in a minute, that there are different levels for different types of forbidden things. So let's see. So hanichal on the Amar, it's okay if I say kol shadar kol limones shaninu. Okay, so here we get into a little bit. The nomenclature is a little confusing. Um, so there is a dispute about when can something be batel barov? When can something be nullified by being overwhelmed by the numbers? So one view is kol shadar kol limonos, anything which is typically counted by or sold by the each, right? Like let's say if you buy, let's see. Things that don't come in packages, but uh, let's say a pair of glasses. Okay, if I buy a bunch of pairs of glasses, I'm going to pay $30 for this one, $100 for that one, $200 for that one. Each one has its own price. You don't buy by the crate or by weight. Okay, typically it's sold by the each. El Mandi Amar Es Shadar Kol Imanos Shaninu. But there's another view that says um, that that beetle is doesn't apply only if it's exclusively counted by the each. Okay, so there are things which typically you might sell by the each, but sometimes you would sell, in a group or by weight or something like that. Um, so this machlokas is when do we say there's beetle, right? So one view is if it's typically sold by the each, then there's no
You mean sold
beetle,
individually?
right? Typically, and the other view is only if it's exclusively sold individually, does it not become batel? Um, so so now let's see. First, we're going to see where that how that distinction comes about. It's not. Here's the Mishnah, and then we'll come back to apply it to our case. So hold on to your hats. It's not. Misha Hilo Chavile Tilton Shel Kilaya Kerem. If you have Tilton is apparently fenugreek, that is kilayim. Okay, was grown in a vineyard, right? So it's forbidden. So yidolku, they should be burned. Um, they can't be used. Nisarvu bacherim. What if they got mixed up with permitted fenugreek? Bacherim, and then that mixture got mixed. It's like it keeps getting mixed up. Somewhere in this, the implication is there's a large collection of fenugreek, and some of it, a small part, is forbidden because of kilayim. Kulan yidalku, burn the whole thing. Divra meir. V'chachamim omrim yalu be'echad u'masayim. No, it can be nullified if the volume is 1 to 200 or more. So if it's less than 0.5% of forbidden fenugreek in this mixture, then it's batel. Shahei Rameir Omer, and why does Rameir say no? It's not batel here. Because he said kol shadar kol imonos mekadesh, something that's typically counted by the each, but as an individual, then it is not. Then it doesn't have. You can't be mevatel it, and so apparently he considers fenugreek one of those items. But the rabbis say ein mekadesh el shisha dvarim bilvad. There's only 6 things make a mixture not make the whole mixture asur. There's 6 kinds of foods, that is, um, because they are um, because they're very large. Okay, so I'm not sure. Let's see. I didn't look into what kind of shisha vaj. So
Rashi
they're
says
not.
Shein Gadolim.
Yeah, they're not
V'daniyam
listed here.
Yikarim. Chashuvim.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Then he says Yikarim v'chashuvim.
Right. So,
B'minyan.
so it doesn't say which 6 items these are. Um, I don't know, maybe a pumpkin. I don't know what they are. Oh, here, wait a minute. He does say. The Gemara says.
The Gemara
And
says.
Rabbi Akiva Omer Shiva. And Rabbi Akiva says 7. Ve'eluhin, what are they? Egoze perach. These some kind of nuts or nuts from a place called Perach. So I guess maybe they were particularly large or expensive. Virimone Badan, pomegranates from this place called Badan. Um, V'chavio Susumo, sealed barrels of wine. V'chilfe Turadin, beet stalks. Vikilche kruv, cabbage stalks, Udalas Yavanis, and Greek pumpkins or gourds, and Rabbi Kiva Mosif, Afkikaro shel balabais, homemade loaves of bread. Okay, so these six things. So, but we don't list fenugreek, right? So the rabbis say that no, only these other six things are considered exclusively sold by the each, and everything else is often sold by the each, but sometimes is sold in the group, and so the group can include, can be mevatel the isur within it. Um, and haroila arla of those those which are, which can become orla. So the mixture is orla, haroila kalayakarim, and those which can become usher because they're grown in the vineyard. Then the mixture becomes forbidden for because of any kalai mixed into it. V'idmar Allah, and we said about that. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, Es Shadar Kalimano Shaninu. What that mission says is Es Shadar Kalimanos, only those things which are exclusively um, priced individually, sold individually, are included. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish Shomer Kol Shadar Kalimanos Shaninu. No, it's like things that are typically sold individually. That even if sometimes they're sold in a group, but if they're typically sold individually, there's no nullification. So now back to our Mishnah. So Hanichal Reish Lakish. So according to Reish Lakish, it says Kol Shadar Kalimanos, the things that are normally counted by individually, but sometimes they can be in a group. That they can't. Then that resists bitul. So what about animals, right? What about our mission is talking about animals. So animals are normally sold by the head, right? But sometimes you could sell them by weight also, right? Or you could sell them by the herd. But typically you would sell them by each. So according to Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, um, this counts as something that's not batel, right? Because an animal is something that is kol shadar kalimanos. Therefore, there's no betul in a mixture. And that's why, remember, our question is, like, why doesn't betul apply? So, according to Reish Lakish, because that's the nature of animals. They're usually sold by the each, but sometimes they can be sold in a group. And therefore, betul doesn't apply. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, um, it's not exclusive, right? Animals do not come under that the es shadar kolimanos. Animals are not something which are exclusively sold by the each because sometimes people sell them in groups. So why would you not have betul? Right? It doesn't, according to Rabbi Yochanan, it doesn't qualify for the betul exemption. Amar of Papa, so Rav Papa answers. Hi Tana, our Mishnah, Tana de litra ketsiosu, is the Tana who taught the rule of a liter of dried figs. The Amar, Kol davar sheyesh bo minyan, afilu b'drabanan lo batil. Anything that has that uh, that has a possibility of being sold um, by the piece. Um, like even so figs, usually apparently they would be sold in like these cakes of dried figs, right? But you could sell it fig by fig, but mostly people didn't. Um, so I feel a bit rabbanon lo batel. Even in a rabbanon thing, there's no bitul because it's considered a group. But Kolsh came a deraisa, certainly a deraisa like us. So therefore, the animal is like the dried figs that you could sell them. Um, uh, you could sell them by the each by per animal, but um, so there's no batala for those things, but for an animal, like for figs, but for an animal which you usually do sell by the each, there is bitul. And now let's look at the dried figs case. Titania.
So therefore, if a person has a herd of cattle, 100 cattle, and there's a mum in one of them,
Yeah.
so according, I guess there are two opinions. I mean, would that be one opinion might say that animal would be bato, Bata Borov, and another opinion would say not, that it would not be Bata Borov.
Right. Right, because it depends what you consider. Like, when do you cancel the idea of beetle? When do you cancel the idea of that that an individual's status can be nullified by the group? Okay, so some say that it's easier to say the animal is part of the group, and therefore, um, it can be its status can be canceled, can be nullified. But others say no. Even in a group, the animal has its own status, so that animal is still forbidden. It cannot be subsumed into the group because of the way people treat it in commerce. It's not treated as part of a group; it's treated as an individual. Well, if it maintains its status as an individual despite being in a group, then the size of the group has no bearing on that. It doesn't cancel its isur.
So wouldn't that be the normative approach? Even if a person has a herd of 10,000 cattle, one has a movement, then that animal would be not permitted because it inherently has
So
a movement. You can't use it.
So that depends on what do you consider like how do you evaluate, does the thing still have its individual identity? Does that apply to animals or not? If you say whatever your criteria is, if it applies to animals, that the animal still is an individual, it can't be canceled. It can't, there's no beetle. But if you say, if your criteria for um, for determining what is part of a group includes animals, then the animal becomes part of the group, and the size of the group cancels the individual status of Isur of the animal. So
Well,
it
how do we
depends on
know?
how you define what your criteria is. If your criteria
I
is more
understand.
strict, or more inclined to keeping the animal keeping the item as an individual item, then animals, it applies to animals, and it's not batel. But if your criteria is more lenient, and says, yeah, we can include this individual item. It's an individual item, but we'll still call it part of the group, then Beetle would apply.
Is there a Pesach halacha here, a maskana of the Gemara?
Thanks.
So far, no.
Yeah, it's not in the Gemara. The Steinsaltz has a note that the Beit Yosef and the Ramah seem to hold stringently according to Rabbi Meir, which actually is really unusual because we rarely follow Rabbi Meir when he has a
Uh-huh.
dispute with other Tanaim.
Right.
But that's what Steinsaltz cites.
Okay, so I think just to wrap this up, let's look at this Mishnah of the dates, the figs. I mean, the Tanya litraktia shadrasa al pi eagle. If you have a liter of dried figs, um, and we're talking about rabbinic truma, that formed into a cake. Veni odea be'eza eagle drasa, but you don't know which cake you put that particular rabbinically forbidden or rabbinic truma, not forbidden but rabbinic truma into al pichavis, or if you press them into the mouth of a barrel. Venyodebe is a chavis, you don't know which barrel, or pikaveres, or some kind of a basket. Venyodebe is a kaveres drasa. But basically, you just don't know what happened. Which one of your fig cakes the truma is in. Rabbi Meir Omer. Um, Rabbi Meir says that here's the dispute. Rabbi Lazar Omer roin asal yonas kilo hen perudos. You 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 look at the top of each fig cake, as if they were kind of separated. Like you take the top layer, the hatachtonos malos es helionos. So how are you going to do bitul here? So, according to Rabbi Meir, this is how you do it. According to Rabbi Lazar, you say, okay, let's consider the top layers all together and the bottom layers all together as groups. La tachtonos malos es elyonos. So the bottom layer is mevatel, the upper layer of each cake. Rabbi Shua Omer, im yesh mea pumin, if there are another 100 molds, yalu, then it's like you can't do it that way. You have to have 100. You can't do the separating of the top from the bottom in order to make a larger volume of permitted stuff. No, you have to have, if you have 100, and it's Truma is 100 to 1, the beetle. So if you have 100 of these fig cakes, then you're okay. But if you have less, you can't say, well, 50 tops and 50 bottoms, so there's 100 and only one, whatever. You can't use that trick. Um, Vimlav hapumi asarin of shulayim mutarin. If you don't have 100 to 1, then what you can do is now you can in each case for each fig cake, you can take off the top layer because that's where the forbidden substance is, and eat the bottom layer. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, but Rabbi Yehuda says, no, that's not the machlokas between them. This is the machlokas. Rabbi Lazar Omer, im yesham mea pumin, if there are 100 molds, yalu, then it works, right? Then that's bitul, 100 to 1. Vim lav, hapum asurin. And if not, then each one stands alone, and you can peel off the top layer of each one and assume that that's where the truma is, and eat the rest. But Rabbi Shua Omer, afilu yesham shlosh me'esh pumin, if there are 300 molds, lo yalu, there's no bitul. Okay, so in other words, in this view, according to Rabbi Yehuda's view, the Rabbi Yeshua is saying there's no bitul for these figs. Because they're sold as individual. Typically, they're sometimes sold individually. Therefore, there can be no bitul for them because they maintain their status as individuals. So that's our source. And finishing up the brisa, drasa be'igel. If you press these figs into a round mold, now before we were talking about it's on the top, but here it's more like a sphere, I guess. So you don't know which part of it might be usher. Olisfono and Droma, you don't know if it's the north side, the south side. Divrei Hakol Yalu. Then everybody would agree that there is bitul.
And therefore, one could eat any of them?
If there's enough, yeah. If there's
If everyone agrees there's betel, you don't know where it is, then presumably everything is mutar, right?
yeah, if you have enough of a volume to be mevatel it.
Well, what's considered enough of
So for truma, it's 100 to 1.
Rabbi Yeshua, I thought Rabbi Yeshua says that even if they're 300.
No, Rabbi Yeshua says you can't even have bitul. 300 is like an exaggerated number. He's not saying 300 is okay. He's saying even 300, even 1,000, 10,000,
right,
whatever. There's no number that can be mevatel it because these are things that still have their individual status since they're sometimes sold
this
that
is
way.
Rabbi Yehuda says it would be permitted 100 to 1.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
If
Okay.
it's circular, how do you know it's 100 to 1?
Good question.
I mean, if they're piled up in a square and you can count the layers, the openings, whatever, it's a circle. It's all. How do you know where it's 100 to 1?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, it could be if you have 100 of these spheres or 100 of these fig cakes, uh, and you don't know which one of them has the Isser in it or the Truma in it. That's 100 to 1.
Okay. And Rabbi Yeshua, I don't think it's lav dafka to 300. He's
Exactly.
just giving a number.
Right, a large number. Yeah, correct. Okay, so I stole a little bit of David's thunder for tomorrow, but I figured we had to at least finish that brisa.
Yes, sir.
Okay, have a good day, everybody.
And happy Thanksgiving.
Oh yes, you too.